Awesome. So to kick things off, I do start with the same boring ass question every time, just because I refuse to sit down and think of a better one. It's the simple introduction. Who are you? Little background on yourself, and kind of why are we having this conversation?
My name's Addie. I sing for the band Halocene, and we've been playing since 2008. Believe it or not, I'm getting up there. But we've got a new album, Maleficent, coming out this Friday, actually. So it's going to be out very soon.
Yeah, dope. And like we were saying just before this, I've kind of seen your journey this whole time. So I wanted to touch on some of that. You guys have been around since 2008, kind of flying under the radar, and it seems like COVID,
That's
as
a nice
horrific,
way of putting it.
but I feel like COVID, as horrific as it was, obviously, was kind of a godsend for you guys, because it really seems like that's where it sparked. When people were at home looking for outlets, you guys were there on TikTok and Twitch and all this stuff, and it really felt like the cult following started building around that time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like here to toot my own horn or anything, but I kind of feel like we've always been kind of on the forefront of whatever is like digital media and whatever that kind of scene is. We've never really been a traditional band. We never like sat down and recorded an album. And well, I mean, we have done that back in the day, but like we kind of try to be a little bit more progressive with the way that we do things. And so we were always kind of trying to search for different avenues to not just make money, but reach people, reach new audiences. And a big one of that was Twitch, which was something that was, pretty well known, I would say, in the gamer community, but not so much with the music scene until the pandemic hit. And then the musicians didn't know what to do. They couldn't tour anymore. The traditional sense of that, they kind of scrambled and didn't know what to do. So everybody kind of like shoveled into this live streaming thing, like, oh, how do we do this? How do we do this? We'd already been doing it for maybe like 3 years. So
Right.
It was really just kind of, definitely a lot of hard work, but definitely luck as well. I mean, we didn't know that any of this was going to happen. That sounds weird to say that the pandemic was lucky. I always call it the best worst year ever, because it was absolutely horrible for so many reasons. But it did, like you said, kind of launch us into this new phase of our band, which we've been searching for over a decade, and it's just really, really exhilarating and I don't know, like just so satisfying to finally be, kind of making some progress.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of, it's going to sound cheesy. I don't have a way for it not to, but like
Always
now
cheesy.
now it feels like you found your voice, right? Like
Yes.
now we're being heard with
Yeah.
what we've been trying for.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of finding your voice, I want to talk about that evolution of your sound, because between you and Brad, the vocal ranges have improved. You guys have really pushed forward in not just feeling relaxed in that, oh, we know how to sing. Like that's obvious. It's been, let's push the barrier. Let's, find new octaves. For Brad, let's figure out how to scream for 19 seconds,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think we kind of realized that this era of the internet, it was kind of entering this, especially with TikTok and the short form content, it was entering this really weird section of just like the strangest talent show you've ever seen. Like people just like, please give me attention. Please just show, like, look what I can do. And I was like, I'm a monkey. I can dance. Let's do this. Like, we don't care. We don't take ourselves very seriously. We know that we have a very serious music career. So I don't mind like doing silly things on the side. Like, I just think it's fun. So I started this octave higher for no reason thing. I don't know how it popped into my head. I just thought that's hilarious and really terrible. Like just honestly so bad. But so many people loved it. I was not expecting the amount of like fan cult around the phenomena to really grow the way that it did. But people ask for it all the time, still to this day. Just sing something an octave higher for no reason, and it's I find it quite annoying, but some people love it. And then as far as Brad singing, screaming for extended periods of time, I think that kind of developed out of our live stream. He was always kind of he had screamed in the past, before we were even in the band together, but we didn't really incorporate too much of it into our music. But I think the fans, we really kind of let the fans drive us in what direction they want us to go. And on the live streams, they realized that he had this fantastic screaming voice and it was kind of being underutilized. And so they kind of pushed him and said, well, what can you do? So they started requesting these songs and songs that we never even heard of before. And, we've always been kind of like background fans of Linkin Park, but not like I wouldn't call us like we didn't fangirl out or anything like that back in the day. But now we very much are, because our fans had requested them so much. But there's a song called Given Up by Linkin Park where they challenged Brad to, can you do this scream? And we heard it for the first time. We were like, there's no way he can do that. Like he's not, he's incredible, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's screaming all the time or anything. It wasn't like a regular thing for him, at least at that point. So I was like, there's no way he can do that. And he just pulls it out of nowhere. And we're like, okay, all right. So he can do that now. Yeah. And we just kept pushing the limit. I think his record is like 49 seconds or something ridiculously absurd. Right. So it just gets weird on our live stream. We like to have fun, like to be entertaining. We get bored and we like to just make ourselves laugh. So that's kind of where those moments kind of come from.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting though, because like you said, having previously not really incorporated the screaming vocals into the music. Yeah. And then now on the new album, especially like with Maleficent, having him in the background doing some of those screams, it's like, oh, there's an added layer here now. Like we have this capability to kind of go in a few different directions. We're not pigeonholed into a sound.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the foundation of our band, is that we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves into one particular genre. We wanted to be the people's band, and not in like a sellout way, just that we appreciate all genres of music. We love them all. I definitely got into heavier music when I was younger, maybe like the Chiodos and the Flyleafs of that time. That was probably about as heavy as I ever got. And so when, our fans started saying, we want more screaming, we want more heavy, we want more rasp, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm in, let's go. So it really just kind of felt pretty natural and came pretty natural to us. So we're really excited that we're kind of in this new phase of our band.
Yeah. Well, and especially, kind of to drive the point home for people that haven't seen the journey, you guys have worked incredibly hard on it. And, you've done so many different covers and things like that to like really showcase, no matter where our fans want the sound, we have the ability to get there,
Yeah, I think that kind of we started doing covers a long time ago. I would say the first one was probably like 2009. I mean, we started off as an original band, but we very quickly were like, you only have 6 original songs. How are you going to make a 45-minute set? Let's throw a couple covers in there. And we found out about this like rockifying pop thing that we really fell in love with. It was a lot of fun for us to do live. And then when YouTube started kind of becoming a thing, we were like, okay, maybe we could actually like put these out on the internet. How are we going to do that? Let's figure out how to use a camera. Let's figure out how to do audio this way and everything. So it was definitely a lot of hard work and independent research.
Right.
But yeah, we kind of, like I said, kind of democratized our band, let our fans carry us in whatever direction we were going to go. We kind of had this like pop phase going on because we kind of thought that's where the music scene was and that's where we should be or whatever. But then, like I said, the fans started asking for Brad screaming more. They started asking for me to do more belty stuff. And I was like, I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
They started requesting wildly different songs. And it's just so many times where you think that a good like idea. You're like, no, that's not going to work. There's no way that's going to work. Kickstart My Heart, Motley Crue. That's so off brand for us. Why would that ever work? And it's one of our biggest songs ever. Chop Suey, System of a Down. What, a girl singing that? That's sacrilegious. You couldn't possibly, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's our fans telling us, no, this is going to be fantastic. And I'm like, all right, you guys know better than us. Let's do it. Whatever. Throw everything at the wall.
Yeah. And, to go down the list a little bit, you already named some of them, but when you guys dropped the How You Remind Me, I was even like, guys, it's Nickelback. Is that a smart move? Like,
yeah, that was a combination of, I think like Brad and I have always kind of been a little pissed that Nickelback gets shafted so much. Like,
They really do. And they've done nothing wrong.
No, they did nothing wrong. I actually watched a whole video. I wish I could remember what it is so I can credit them. But it was a whole video on how that actually came about. How did people started hating Nickelback so much? And it kind of came out of like just this one person just saying how much they didn't like them. And then combined with like the radio like overplay and being overplayed and stuff, but I don't think they were ever bad. Like they're never been terrible, maybe a little generic. Maybe that's the worst crime that they've ever made. I mean, it's good songwriting, so whatever. But How You Remind Me, I think it's a fantastic song. Overplayed, sure, but that's why we wanted to put our own spin on it, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys are how many episodes deep now in your cover albums? You're at volume 8, 9, something like that.
I don't even know. I think it is it 9 or 10? I don't actually remember.
Yeah.
We started cataloging them by year. I believe the first volume I just kind of like threw together as many covers, for a certain section of years, because it was kind of sporadic in the beginning. And then we just started doing them every single year. And I don't even know what the number is. I should probably know that, but I don't.
I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like, you're not a cover band, so it's not that important.
No, I mean, I know how many original albums we have.
Because that's the important part.
Yeah, right.
You mentioned YouTube. Let's talk a little bit about that. Because again, you guys being on kind of the cutting edge of a lot of this stuff. For anybody that's unfamiliar with you guys, I was just looking at your stats, and insane numbers on there. You've got like almost 850,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think it's like 839 right now. And over 500 videos. Like, there is no shortage of Halocene on the internet. No. So with that, what's it like, build this library of YouTube, and now, Spotify, obviously, as it came through, but like building all of this catalog from the ground up independently. Talk a little bit about what went into this grind and, trying to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I think we started out like a lot of bands do. And in 2008, there weren't really getting big on the internet wasn't really a thing. I mean, there was some MySpace things here and there, and we were out there, of course. Yeah, exactly. Of course. So, I mean, there were a couple things propping up on MySpace, that's for sure, but it wasn't the beast that it is today. And so, we were on MySpace, we were trying to get footing there. We were doing the regular handing out flyers thing, and we were just kind of grinding that way. We actually started touring high schools. That was a pretty successful thing for us to kind of like garner an audience. But what we found was that we would tour those high schools, but by the time we got back home, our internet sense had kind of faded a little bit. So we decided, that we really believed in YouTube and the whole digital online presence. We really thought it was the most important thing. And so we said, you know what, it's financially really difficult to be touring. Let's just put a pause on that for indefinitely. It ended up being like 10 years, but we said, let's stop touring. Let's stop really, we'll play live occasionally, but it won't be really like the main focus anymore. Let's focus on this internet thing and see what kind of, content we can put out. It's definitely gone through different ebbs and flows as the internet does. But at one time, the quantity was king. So it was just about getting out as many as we could. And we were doing once a week for a long time, like a long time. The only thing that really stopped us from putting out that much content, which we actually did love doing, we had a son. So me and my guitarist Brad are married, and we had our son back in 2019. And that decision kind of came out of, it seems like our band really isn't taking off. It isn't really going anywhere. It's, it's a fun hobby, definitely something to bring in a little something on the side, but it really was not. It did not pay the bills. We were doing, we were in a corporate cover band. We were playing weddings. We were doing jingles for toy commercials and stuff, just whatever we could to try to like pay the bills. And so we said, maybe it is time. We don't want to wait until we're 40 because there's a lot of complications that can come with that. Let's go ahead and, kind of dive into it. And then literally the next year is when things things really started to take off for us. And we're like, damn it, fuck, why? So, trying to balance being parents and also putting out, living our dreams, basically. This is what we've worked for our entire lives. I've wanted to be a singer since I was 2 years old. I've been working since then. It might sound silly, but as a kid, I would sing every single day, and I would have concerts in my bedroom. Like, okay, how am I going to be able to get through? I can only get through 2 songs right now before my voice gives out. How can I get to 3? And how can I get to 4? How can I sing for 2 hours at a time? So it's really just been a lifelong dream of ours. So we finally get this. And now we have, another beautiful part of our lives to try and like do this tug of war with. I would love to say that it's been like a successful work-life balance, but we're still struggling to find it, man. It's especially right now. We just moved cross country and from Phoenix to Nashville. And we made the silly decision to go on tour and release a whole album within 2 months of doing that. And we were like, why? What were we thinking? Why did we do this?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed with the joy and everything of people's response on this album so far. It's been really great.
Yeah, I saw that you guys, I forget what day now, yesterday maybe, announced that Maleficent has been your greatest streaming release so far. So I do think it is finally, like, whether it's the space that music is in right now, like with genres, whatever it is, something finally has clicked for listeners to be like, oh shit, like I need to be paying attention to these kids.
Yeah, I mean, kids. Oh my gosh,
I know. I'm 38 as well, so
I'll take it. Oh my goodness. No, yeah. It has been really awesome, and yeah, Maleficent has been our most successful. It was our most successful streaming day of any song. It outperformed on Holy even, which was our greatest cover performance. And then it's our top performing original on YouTube as well. So that's just a really great indication that we're doing the right thing. And that's such a great feeling, especially with what we put ourselves through these past few weeks, because I'm not going to say it's been easy. It's been a lot. When you're doing it all yourself, we're talking Brad is in the editing, like he's 5 minutes before I got on here with you, he's in here editing our release coming up this Friday. So it's just a back and forth, but we're trying to get it done.
Yeah. But I think that goes back to, I always call it the golden age. We grew up in the golden age of music. So we saw all the DIY, all the effort, like we know what it takes.
Right.
And I think I'm not trying to shit on kids nowadays, but like, I don't think they have the same level of work ethic with it, that they don't, I think, always don't realize what goes into this, right? Like, it's not just, oh, I can put this song out and then I can just let it go. Like, there's so much marketing on the back end. There's so much production, especially for you guys as a DIY band. There's the booking for a tour, all that. Like, it's not, the odds of you being a Justin Bieber, putting a song out and being signed is next to nothing.
Next to nothing. Absolutely. And yeah, I think that there is definitely a more DIY approach to life in general now. I do think younger generations are gravitating towards that and kind of understanding that they will probably need to do some of this themselves. I've been seeing some of our own friends kind of signed to labels and everything like that, and they're really excited about it. And I'm hopeful for them, but at the same time, I'm optimistically cautious because you give up so much when you see bands like us, out there just grinding it, and you're like, okay, that's what I need to be doing. They start grinding, they start gaining the audience, they get everything together themselves, they're very self-sufficient, and then a label comes in and swoops them up and says, here's your dream, you want to be signed to a label, this is what you want, right? And it's like, you kind of actually already, you did it all yourself, you don't really need to hand that over. I am all for bringing on extra help. There's definitely still I think there's an unfortunate divide between what is considered an online creator and then a traditional media band. It's virtually impossible for them to tour together because of the label restrictions, and or collaborate together. Those kinds of things are very, very rare, which I just find really unfortunate because I think that us with a really strong social media presence combined with their traditional radio access, that's an unstoppable combination. And I think that labels are really missing out to not recognize that. They just think, no, I just need to steal these people and shove them into this hole and make them do all the work or whatever. And it's like, why can't we just team up? I think it should be more of a collaborative effort at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, on the label side of stuff, I think being optimistically cautious is the right approach. I've talked about it a few times, but we're, again, of the right generation. We saw the rise of Victory Records and then everything that happened with that. So it's
that was
like,
messy.
It's like, oh, this is really cool for all these bands. And then when the negative side happens, it's like, oh, wow, this fucked a lot of people. So there definitely needs to be some degree of caution, and not saying that all labels are toxic or evil or whatever by any means. But I think you're right too. Even the best label, to some degree, you lose a little bit of control of who you are.
You do. Yeah. And especially in an age of authenticity, like I don't know if you've seen all these viral traditional artists. I think Halsey was one of the ones to start it, that kind of posted that a TikTok saying, my label is forcing me to release 4 TikToks this month and they need them to go viral or whatever. And they're complaining about it. And like, I kind of understand it, because from their perspective, that's the point of the label, is that you're supposed to do all my marketing and I just get to be an artist. That's kind of our relationship here. But at the same time, it's just not working that way anymore. You can't just throw $100,000 into advertising and it's going to work. People don't click on ads the same way they are anymore. They want that genuine feeling, or even fake genuine. They want to believe that that you are actually trying to create something for them. And I think that's getting lost in translation, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. And, I had Jake from Between You and Me on, and he talked about they were on Hopeless Records, obviously, when they really started to blow up, and now they're independent. They've been released from their contract. They just dropped their new single, Nevermind, and it's doing better than they ever did on the label. And he's like, it's one of those, like, he was like, I'm not shit talking Hopeless. They did incredible things for us, but like, when we were there, we had this like glass ceiling we couldn't get past. But on our own, we're only limited by what we're willing to do and what we're willing to work for.
Yeah, it's just more middlemen to try and cross through, more people to ask permissions of. But there's definitely benefits as well. I mean, like I said, our work-life balance is all out of whack, man. Like we work a lot to try to get this done. And I imagine that if we were, had a label working for us, we'd probably be able to just kind of relax a little bit more. So I get it. I get the allure for sure.
Yeah, on some things, but again, to go back to like the music videos, right? Losing some creativity on that because they go, oh, you're going to work with this person. And it's like, okay, but that person doesn't see the vision. They don't see the band, or even for a lot of the music, like for you and Brad to still be able to have your hands in all of the production and everything versus the label saying, hey, you're going to go work with this guy and this is exactly how we want you to sound. And it's like,
it's definitely something that like we experienced this where I guess a great example is like, so we have these 2 music videos that we absolutely love. And I think they've captured exactly what we were trying to say with the music itself. Vita Nova was a music video that we shot and directed ourselves. All the costume design, everything was completely done by us, except for the director of photography, who we outsourced, and we handpicked exactly who we wanted for that. And then a different one, Repent, which is just a cinematic masterpiece. We were basically hands off from that outside of the band shots. We did film our own band shots for that, but mostly it was a guy named Dylan, and he was Versa Films. He's so incredibly talented, and I'm so glad that he was able to bring our vision to light. But I will say, when we watch Vita Nova, there is this amount of pride that we have that we did that. We from the ground painted that, starved ourselves that day. You know what I mean? Like there is something just so satisfying about being like, that's us. We completely from the ground up created that piece of art. And it's just, it's just, I don't know, there's definitely something more satisfying about it. But again, that work-life balance, you lose that whenever you're trying to be that hands-on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, there's also a certain degree of like hesitation or like imposter syndrome that comes with that sort of stuff too. Like, I did I do good enough? Am I good enough to do this thing? Like, especially, creating a music video that you guys, maybe it isn't in your wheelhouse, or as far as you're aware, it's not in your wheelhouse. And then you see your finished product and go, oh shit, yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
But same thing, like when you're putting together an album, as we transition to talk about the new album, talk a little bit about that mentality of like pouring your heart and soul into these original songs, and then like this anticipation that you have building up right now to, oh, we're going to release this. Is it good enough? Like, did we do all the right things? What's happening?
Yeah, there is this crazy chaos that happens in the days leading up to a release, especially one that you're super passionate about. The regular day-to-day covers, not so much. I'm kind of just like, all right, I got to get my social media stuff together. And it's cool to see people's reactions, but it's not quite the same as something like Maleficent, where we are, just really putting so much work and effort into it, and hours. And the night before actually releasing Maleficent, Brad pulled an all-nighter. He was working till 9 a.m. to get that video done. As soon as he pulls that export, I am uploading it to YouTube, creating the thumbnail, it's just right then and there. And then once it's out, there's this almost kind of weird feeling of like, what now? Like you lose complete control. You are so detailed about every single shot. Oh man, that frame just needed to be zoomed in a half an inch closer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can't do anything about this. And now it's something else now. It's somebody else's, thing to consume. So it is definitely very nice when you hear all the beautiful comments, but sometimes it doesn't go well. Sometimes the views aren't there for whatever reason. I think a great example of this, actually, one of our most successful originals was actually the one directly before this, Hold Me, Help Me. And it did incredibly well on Spotify. People, just the general excitement around it was very obvious. So we, kind of had these expectations set a little bit high. We released our music video for it, which was a live music video. Brad spent a lot of time editing it exactly the way that we wanted. And we are still very, very proud of that. But for whatever reason, the viewership just wasn't there. And I don't know if it was just a YouTube thing. You kind of can't tell. Maybe there wasn't really much interest in a live music video. We don't really know that. But it is hard when you build yourself up like that. Like, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be the one. And then it's just, it was all right. That's always kind of a weird feeling.
Yeah, for sure. And with the music videos you've done, like, do you see or feel maybe a difference between like live performance videos, regular performance videos, and then like the more cinematic ones like Maleficent? Like, are you seeing kind of a trend in where people are devoting that time and viewership to?
I do definitely think that people love us when we do put a little bit more like cinematic kind of fuel behind it. But I don't know. It kind of depends. It goes up and down. And I try not to think about it too much. I try to go based off more what the general feeling is behind it, like what the comments are actually saying versus how many comments there actually are. Because it is great. I'm so glad that Maleficent is doing well. But if the comments were just kind of like, great video, guys, like that wouldn't be enough for me to be like, hey, we should do that again. Just because we, lightning struck once doesn't mean it's going to strike twice. I don't know what the saying is, but yeah, it's more based off of what that feeling is. Repent, for example, I think unfortunately, because the content of the video, it contained abuse, because we wanted to that's what the song is about. So we wanted to kind of make something that was a little bit difficult to watch, but it became age restricted really fast. And I think it kind of suppressed which it should be age restricted, but it kind of suppressed the algorithm. I noticed it drop off like just ridiculously when that happens. They say that it doesn't affect the viewership, but it absolutely does. Like,
it has to, based on their demographic too, right? Like, we know that YouTube users, like, we obviously grew up in that age, so we're still prime in it, but like the average age of a YouTube user maybe is in that restricted area. So like, it's not just going to show up in the random suggested feed anymore.
I have a theory that I actually think it impacts overall. I don't know why it necessarily does, but we've just noticed it pretty consistently. Our audience is not younger. We have a more like, it's either our age, maybe a little bit younger and then older from there. But we just noticed that the viewership just drops off once it gets age restricted, just overall, but for everybody, which is just kind of unfortunate because it just means that we have to be more careful and maybe not as artistic as we want to be, like self-expressive as we would like to be. So that's like kind of a good reading there, is like, but the comments of that video were so much like, thank you, Halocene, for creating this. This has helped me so much. And the amount of people that come to me saying Repent is one of the most important songs in their life or something, like, you get that feeling, you can tell when it's, something that you should double down on it. Nope, that's okay. We're going to keep going at it.
Yeah. And I think it goes into recognizing different levels of success and different measures of success, right? Mm-hmm. Like, sure, 1 million followers would be an incredible thing.
Yeah.
But if you only have 40 people that are ever commenting on your videos, do you really have 1 million fans, or do you have 40 fans?
That was kind of what we experienced with the octave higher thing, as incredible as it was and how viral I went for it. I kind of had to pull back because I noticed that there wasn't this proper crossover between fans. The fans that enjoy our original music aren't always, I mean, I'm not going to say it definitely does cross over, but in general, that audience was more like, they liked Broadway or like, musical, or just like singing in general, like that's what their interest was. And even though I consider myself an okay singer, I think they weren't really looking for that kind of content. So I had to kind of, as difficult as it was, kind of pull away from that a little bit, or just try to integrate it a little bit better. Like, okay, let's sing a song that, our band might cover, but an octave higher, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about the album a little bit. So we've touched on Maleficent. You've got Repent on the album, Hold Me, Help Me. For you, with this album, the mentality going in, right? Like, you're not a concept band by any means, but looking at the track listing and hearing the content, there's obviously a theme and a story that's being told.
Yeah, I think, like I said, we democratize our band. We let the fans kind of guide us in what they think is working. And so we actually do the albums backwards. We don't record a bunch of songs and then release them all at once, because I just feel like it doesn't really necessarily give each single or each song the proper attention that it deserves. We really prefer to release each single, have its moment to shine, and then at the end of it, kind of bring it all together and create this album that somehow always seems to make sense. Like, I don't know that we're necessarily trying as much as we're just listening to what the fans are saying and kind of being like, okay, you like this direction. Okay, what are we going to build off of that? So this album, I think what kind of came from it is this feeling of everything a little bit outside of the norm. Anything that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, whether it's talking about mental health, whether it's talking about sexuality, sexy time, whether it's talking about, I think Maleficent specifically is talking about me finding my own self-confidence, specifically with like my own body and feeling like it doesn't matter if I want to show my skin, I should be able to do that. So kind of covering these topics that are a little outside the norm, a little, maybe a little uncomfortable. We talk about abuse with Repent, and Unholy, of course, that's just speaks for itself. That's a cover, but it's still, we bring it back to the same kind of thematic feeling. So
yeah. And I think it is like, I think it's interesting that you do it that way, because I think as we've gotten older, when we were growing up, you went out and you bought the album and you listened to the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
But once the digital age really started taking off, it's so easy for people to skip around or maybe only hear the one song because of release radar or whatever. And it's like the attention span, I don't think, is really there for people to go find the full album or, dive into the music.
No, and I'm 100% guilty of that. I mean, when albums used to come out, it was on a CD or a cassette tape, right? So the effort of taking the CD out and putting a new one, and like, you're not going to do that just to hear one song. That's really cumbersome. Right. So I think just the nature of it was just, you have this piece of work. It's stuck in, I can't get it out. The thing is broken. It won't come out. That can't happen to my car. The used got stuck in my car. And I was like, guess I'm listening to this for the rest of my life. But yeah, so I think that it just kind of changed when digital media became, the thing that it is. And instead of kind of moping around, oh, why aren't they they don't listen to the good songs. They only listen to the singles. I'm like, why can't we think about this in a different way? How can we make sure that, each of these pieces are getting their time to shine, so to speak. And I think, I feel really confident about it. I people still choose to do the album route where they sit down and record a bunch of songs all at once, and that's cool. But I just don't think it works for us. I think, we've done that in the past. You get a little bit burnt out, and I don't want to say you like suddenly start putting out songs that are, not as worthy or something, but I do think that kind of naturally happens in that situation where you're sitting down, okay, I got to get an album, I got to put out 12 sones or whatever it is. Okay, I guess we got to come up with another one. It's not necessarily like where we just kind of let it flow and say, okay, well, we should probably get another song out. It's been about 3 months or something. We like to kind of try to make sure we're putting out 3 originals a year. That's our own personal goal. And that kind of gives us a deadline, but it doesn't pressure us into making sure that we've got an overwhelming amount of the same content. I don't know. It's just, we get to go back and forth between the covers, which is really lighthearted, and then, getting really detailed with our originals, and it's a good ebb and flow.
Yeah. And I think, too, the old school album, that it's wrong, it depends on the band or whatever, but the old school album route, like with some of the artists I've talked to, even here recently, here we are technically 2 years after the pandemic, and they're still releasing albums that were written in or pre-pandemic because they had to hold on to everything.
Yeah. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with the labels making those decisions for them. They probably were like, just put it out. We don't care. We want this music out. But I can't imagine like having a whole bunch of songs that you wrote 2 years ago and trying to feel that same excitement about it. I would be very like, oh, thank God it's finally out, but not like, I'm ready to do new music by this time. Like, I just couldn't imagine doing it that way.
I just had an artist on a couple weeks ago that was almost that exact sentiment. They just released an album and he's like, I've already got the next album ready. Like I already have moved on, but I have to go tour on this now. And like,
right.
Like you said, it's kind of not that you ever intentionally grow out of, especially your original work, but like you age and mature. The songs that you were writing when you were 17 are not the songs that you relate to at 28. It's just not the same person.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as just being obsessed with a song. You get obsessed with a song and you listen to it on repeat for 2 months, and you're like, okay, I still love this song. I will love to listen to it, but that initial wow, how is this good feeling? Right. It's just kind of gone. It's not really there the same way.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the incredible people that you've gotten to work with over the last couple of years as well. I actually had David Michael Frank on, and he spoke very highly of you.
David.
And then you guys have done a buttload of work with Lauren Babick, and you're actually getting ready to tour with her. So talk about, forming these friendships over the digital age, and then being able to like collaborate and see each other grow in that cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty obvious to us as media influencers that collaboration is key to growing an audience, even at the lowest level. Even if you're talking, you've got 100 subscribers, just find another person that's also got 100 subscribers or 101. Maybe they've got a little bit more than you or something, and then you guys share the audiences. It almost always works as long as the genre or whatever topic it is slightly similar. And we kind of got to this point in our band. We were like, that's what we want to do. We want to work with as many people as possible, because even in our like corporate band, what we found when we were doing these covers that we probably wouldn't have wanted to play otherwise, like, I'm not going to say I love playing the Black Eyed Peas, but it gave me a lot of insight into like what I've sang that song so many times. I got a feeling I know every little tiny digital bit of that song, whether it's conscious or subconscious. I've learned a lot from that. And right. I think that also comes from collaboration. You see how someone else is doing something, and you learn a bit from it. So besides gaining an audience, you're also gaining perspective, and then also gaining friendships, of course, if it, you guys really gel. David is absolutely incredibly talented, and he came out with us on our last summer tour, and it was just so much fun, such a blast. And he's just so incredibly talented and such a hard worker, very business motivated, and I would say even more digitally savvy than we are, as far as like what to be doing next. He's got his ideas for his music videos, and he's like, I'm gonna let the fans do it. And so, I don't know what his plans are, but he's just really, really innovative that way. Lauren is just, she's one of my best friends. And we actually all collectively decided to move to Nashville together, because we just really felt like the team just worked. It made sense. And we were definitely isolated with our work. When you are independent like this and the amount of work that you're doing, it takes a lot of self-motivation and not a lot of socialization. If you are collaborating, which is what we loved to do, we found that we made really, really good friends over the internet, but it's not the same as being in person. Right. You kind of, as a human, regardless of if you're introverted or not, I do consider myself a pretty introverted person. Social interaction is still a good thing to have, on a regular basis. You still need that to be kind of a functional human being. And we knew that we would never be able to stop working. So, we couldn't slow down our work to go and have regular friends. So we all kind of collectively said, what if we just all live in the same city? We get our work done, but we can do this kind of collaboration effort. And, I can come over to your house and we can film a video, or we can just make a TikTok together. I don't know, just whatever. Yeah. It's a little bit more than just kind of trying to do it by yourself in your room, which is just, it can get lonely at times. So yeah, we're excited about that. And Lauren's coming out on tour with us, which is just always just a blast. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. And so that tour is kicking off at the end of this month, at the end of May. So May 31st through looks like June the 15th, hitting a lot of East Coast and South places, and then a little bit of the Midwest with Indiana and Ohio sprinkled in there. Talk about kind of, because I don't think casual fans, as I am going to refer to them, I don't think they understand the complexities of booking a tour. And it's always like, why aren't you coming closer to me? Yes. Because I can't always come closer to you.
So these set of dates is kind of a collection of things that we weren't able to hit on our last two American tours. We unfortunately got COVID halfway through our not even halfway, like right at the beginning of our tour in summertime. So we didn't hit a few places. So we wanted to catch those places and then kind of add in the other places that we weren't able to get to. So that's kind of what this is, kind of like making up for the things that we weren't able to reach last year. And then, trying to book a tour is really hard. There's a lot that's involved that I'm sure people aren't totally aware of. And I also have a personal requirement that my tours don't go any longer than 3 weeks. I just don't feel right leaving my 3-year-old son for more than 3 weeks at a time. As he gets older, that might be different. Or if we somehow come across a bunch of money and he can just come on tour and I can have a nanny and a full, but he can't sit in the van with eight other people. That's just not going to work. Yeah. So right now it's just not an option for him to come with us. But if we ever had the budget or anything, I would do longer tours. I would come to Brazil let's do it.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a lack of desire, but more just a lack of resources, financially, and just, honestly, just your gas runs out, man. It's a
Yeah.
lot for sure, especially when you don't have the budget. We're not traveling in a bus or anything like that. It's rough. We're roughing it,
Yeah. Yeah. And, that was something Jake and I talked about, was them coming over from Australia to be over here for about a month. And he's like, it's literally the four of us in the band and one person to help us with merch. Like, that's it. And now we're driving across the country. Like,
Yes.
there was one night, I forget, they played like Milwaukee, and then the next night was Omaha, Nebraska. And it's like a 9-10 hour drive. And he's like, I'm probably going to start that drive, get off stage, pack up, and I'm starting that drive, and I just don't think that's always taken into consideration. So it's not that, to your point, it's not that I don't want to come closer than 3 hours to you. It's that I can't physically get there.
Yeah, we do. We drive our own van. We pack up our own shit. I am putting all the merch together, counting up how much it's going to be. A lot of times we are handling almost all of that by ourselves. We do have a couple of people on hand this tour because the last tours have been so successful. So even just the 2 people that we have coming to help us is going to be so amazing. Like, I can't stress to you, but it is, again, it's 8 people in a van. That's what it is. That's our tour. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a lot, to just try to handle yourselves, and you're living on gas station food. So many people are like, can I take you out to dinner, beforehand or whatever? And I'm like, when? We don't have time for that. We drive directly to the venue. We set up, maybe there's some time between doors and like when we play, but then we strike, we get out of there, we go to our Airbnb, sleep for maybe 8 hours if we're lucky, and then head to the next place. So it's definitely chaotic, but we do love it at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and looking at the schedule, you guys are coming from Columbus to Indianapolis, which will be the show that I'll be at. But that's a solid 4.5 hour drive. And that doesn't sound big, but that's after I've played a show. That's driving through the night to hopefully get to Indianapolis in time. Or even if you, like you said, stay in Columbus that night and get up and try to drive in, like there's issues, and God forbid, we blow a tire or, construction, whatever
Which happens
it is
all the time.
Yeah.
No, we actually made a point to stop. Our friends First to 11 are in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to make a detour. We have one day off, and we're going to spend that day off going to Erie to film a cover video because I want to be in person with them. So it's things like that maybe you aren't really necessarily thinking about, where we're trying to make this valuable and making our time valuable while we're on the road. So it's going to be fun, but it is like just another little added thing that we got to think about,
Yeah. Well, I don't know how it is for you, but I'm a big Yellow Card fan. I've talked to Ryan a million times now. And they've always set up theirs as well, where it's like 3 days on, 1 day off, and it's for vocal rest. Like,
yes, it is.
I could physically go out and sing 8 days in a row, but it's going to decline very quickly around day 5.
Yeah. Our last tour was in Europe. It was 18 dates with 1 day off. Yeah, it was a lot. We even had at some point, Brad's voice had completely given out, come to screaming, and we're like, he just has to take the night off. What are we going to do? We had a fan come up and scream for him once. That was a lot of fun. We had our tour manager come out and scream for him because that was a lot of fun. So we just try to make it silly. But yeah, it's true. It's like, if you don't have that time off, like, I mean, I would consider us pretty well seasoned as far as like how much we sing because of our live streams. So we're pretty, well protected. I definitely take really good care of my voice, but man, it's a lot. So yeah, even on this tour, we're like, please, you have to give us some more dates off. It's just not going to work.
And like you said, especially on tour, like, you're not being able to eat the healthiest. It's gas station food. It's stuff like that. So
there's climate changes a lot of the time. Like when you go into the desert, it gets really dry and your voice isn't prepared for that. So there's a lot to consider. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this tour, again, obviously we're starting up here in just a couple weeks, running for 3 weeks ish. What can people expect? What's your guys's, obviously bring the noise, right? But like, what's your game plan for this tour?
Yeah, so we try to keep it 50-50 when it comes to covers and originals. So it's usually the biggest question is how do you guys split it and whatever. And we just found it's the most exciting way for us to express ourselves artistically, but also just have a killer time. Because man, when someone hears their favorite song come on, it's just nuts. The crowds go crazy. And we've always been in the mindset of we want to have the best experience with the fans. If they're just standing there, listening to a song that they may have never heard, that's not fun for us. Like as artistically satisfied as we may be, it's like, it means nothing if they're not like jumping up and down and losing their goddamn minds. So we try to make it as exciting as possible. My favorite part about our show, because a lot of people ask this as well, how is Lauren incorporated? She's actually a part of our band. So we don't just, have her open for us or something like that. Yeah. We bring her out on stage. We sing a bunch of songs together, some of the songs that we've done together and some that we haven't. So you get to see her on some of our originals that you've never seen before, or, or us on a cover of hers that's done really well. So yeah, and we get to harmonize and, just go nuts together and just feed off of each other's energy. And it's just a blast. So I think that's how we kind of keep everybody on their toes.
Yeah. You've been releasing new merch designs and stuff like that to go along with this album. Is that all planned to be available throughout the tour and everything as well?
So we try to keep it different for whatever you can get on the website and what you get on tour. I just think that's, I know people have a lot of FOMO with that, but it's just like, I don't know, it's super fun for us. We do sometimes have some leftover stock. So if you do see something that, people are showing up on tour, like taking pictures with, and it's something that you really, really want, when we get home, I do announce, whatever's left over, I try and, sell online, but sometimes they go really quickly. I'm really excited about the VIP shirt. I actually think it's one of my favorite shirts that we've ever made. And it only can come if you get the VIP package. So yeah, we try and mix it up, but it's a lot of fun coming up with different merch designs. So we try to get as creative as we can.
Yeah. So the thing I've been doing as recently, because I, again, refuse to sit down and think of transition and closing questions. I bought this game called Hot Takes. And it's kind of like Cards Against Humanity, just like
shitty hot tamales.
Hot Takes.
I know, but it looks like the hot tamales.
Oh yes, it definitely does look like
okay, go ahead.
But yeah, so I've just been using these for like the last, I don't know, 6 episodes, and it's been working out really well. So the first one I've got for you is that waffles are better than pancakes.
No, I'm a pancake person. I think I like food integration, and I just feel like it doesn't like, a waffle is great, but once you like throw like chocolate chips and blueberries, maybe that's as far as you can go. A pancake, you got like cheesecake pancakes, you got crazy, I don't know, they just are more creative with the pancakes. I don't know if that's, they're just discriminating against the waffles or something, but pancakes all the way.
Yeah, well, and I actually had that same question for an artist named Baby the other day, and we were talking about it, and we're like, when have you ever went out somewhere and gotten a waffle and enjoyed it? Like, waffles are so easy to get fucked up.
No.
But I can go to IHOP and get pancakes, or wherever, and get pancakes and be fine. Like, see, McDonald's pancakes are okay.
Brad is super weird because he's like, I don't like real waffles. He only likes Eggos. Like, he will not eat like your genuine like Belgian waffle. He's like, those are disgusting, but Eggos are just the way to go. I'm like, you're a child, but okay.
Does he only microwave them as well, or
so they're nice and soggy? Yeah.
The second one I've got might be interesting because if I remember right, Arizona does this weird anyway. We should stop doing daylight savings time.
Yeah. Yes, we should definitely do that. In Arizona, they do not observe daylight saving. I almost said honor. They don't honor daylight savings time. But yeah, it was actually quite frustrating when we lived in Phoenix because everybody else did change, right? So
Right.
whenever we did our live streams every single week, or whenever we would say that something was coming out at a certain time, we had to change what time we did things so that we would say the hour behind with everybody else, or like, so that it wouldn't change for them. It was so frustrating. And as much as I don't like the time changing, I actually am much happier in a place that does time change, because you don't have to change your own schedule.
Right.
But if y'all could just get with the program, I'm just saying, like, we could all just be fine and not have to change.
Right. And like back in the 1800s, when it was all like set up because general stores were only open to a certain time, sure, makes sense.
Bullshit. That is not cool, man. And it's like a new thing. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely insane. So awesome. Obviously, I'll link all your socials and everything, but where can people find you online? What's kind of the best way to interact with you guys?
All the places. Halocene.com is definitely the main one. You can follow us on Twitch, definitely on TikTok. We're posting there basically every day. Our YouTube, as discussed, is definitely a big place to come check us out. One of my personal favorite places is a little more underground, but our Discord community is just fantastic. Not just even if you're a fan of us, but just for like emotional support. People are always there just lifting each other up, and I just think it's really cool. So definitely join our Discord if you're a fan of ours.
Yeah. See, and I love Discord as well, and I don't understand how it's not gotten more popular than what it is. Like, I think people still just associate it with like the gaming community or something.
Yeah, I think that happens with a lot of things. They kind of have this ceiling to break through when it comes to like Twitch and then Discord and it's stuff. And it's like, you guys are sleeping on like probably some of the best content out there, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, and Discord's super cool, like you said, because joining a server, but then there's so many, you can add multiple channels. So now we have a merch design channel. Now we have a mental health space, whatever it is. And like, you can just be a Halocene fan and see other examples of work or whatever. It
encourages conversation more, I feel like. So like we actually run our Patreon. We have a Patreon page, but I just have it basically all on Discord because I prefer the more interactive, like us releasing something or asking a poll or like getting some advice from them and then being able to talk amongst each other and see what the conversation is rather than just like comments, which just feel very individual. And even though you can reply to a comment, it's just not the same as being like a live chat room where it's feeling living and breathing like you're actually being able to interact with these people. I just think it breeds for more in-depth conversations and more subtlety.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be sure to link that in the description of the podcast as well. So Addie, I really appreciate your time. Like I said, I will be there at the Indianapolis show, do some photography for you and whatnot. And
awesome.
I'm stoked for you guys. Like I said, I think it's been a long time coming and I don't know how you flew under the radar for this long, but I'm glad it's finally starting to get the recognition it deserves.
That's really kind. And again, just saying flying under the radar is just the nicest, basically completely obscure is what
we're a submarine on a radar.
That's what we're really saying here. Thank you. That's really, really kind. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. And I'll keep you posted. This will be going live the 24th. So the album will be out and then this will drop right before tour. So
awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. You go have a good night and and stay safe on tour.
Thank you. I'll see you around.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.